Hey, this is Monique. Welcome to One Mo Project. Today we're making pumpkins out of sweaters because sweaters don't get stinky and rot like real pumpkins do. Anyway, if you're just making pumpkins with me, then the first part of the video is for you and you can see how to put your pumpkin together. But if you're not with me and you want to make pumpkins from some sweaters, keep watching to the end and there's some extra content to show you how I got the sweaters ready to turn into pumpkins. Alright, here's how to do it. So you'll have all of these different supplies to choose from, but you don't have to get everything at once. Just get a few things, like the pumpkin that you're going to make. This is a little bitty orange one. Some felt to make the stem, and maybe a few of the little flower pieces or grass stuff. Okay, so once you have your supplies, you're going to use this thread, and you're going to just real big catch go across, and not all the way down at the edge. If you put your thumb on there and the bottom of your thumbnail is at the bottom edge of the fabric and you go up that far, that's a pretty good rule of thumb. Anyway, so you're going to do both the top and the bottom of your pumpkin. And it doesn't really matter if you start with the threads on the inside or on the outside. They're going to be tied up tight when we're done, so it won't really matter. So once you get both ends of it with this big basting thread that you can pull up tight, you're going to go ahead and tie up the bottom. And so we're going to tie that in a knot and just tie it as tight as you can. I wish I could tell you some secret for tying a knot tight like that, but just work at it. And I tied an extra just to be sure it was done. So once you have the bottom made, then you stuff it as full as you think you're going to want it. It doesn't have to be super tight, but enough where it's going to hold its shape. Then tie the second string that you have put across the top. I used a stick to put those raw edges of the fabric back down in there. And there you have it. That one kind of looks like a little orange. Alright, time for some hot glue. You can use this rectangle piece, but I thought the triangle piece made a better looking stem. And then 2 rows of hot glue across it, and it is hot glue. Try not to burn yourself. I know it's tempting. I always want to burn myself, but I try not to. Roll it up and then maybe work off some of the glue spider webs and stick that right on the top. Then using the pieces of greenery that you have, this is like a piece of that raffia kind of stuff, and this is something off of those flowers that I had to choose from. Glue those on and then make a bow with the ribbon. The easiest way to make a good looking bow is just make a bow. Instead of trying to do something fancy, just go ahead and tie it in a bow. If you wanted a florist bow that has lots of loops, that's different. But for this size, just a regular bow is going to do. Pick off some hot glue spider webs, and there you have it. Okay, but if you want to make the one that looks like it has the sections, you're going to want to use one of the choices of twine. And make each piece twice the length of your pumpkin. It doesn't matter how many you use, that's up to you. I think 5 or 6 is probably going to be enough, but if your pumpkin's bigger, you might want more. If it's smaller, 4 might do. Anyway, make sure that twine is going through your pumpkin, and then tie up the bottom, like we did on the first video. Then now we're going to put in the batting, but we're going to kind of work it around that twine so that the twine comes up pretty much in the middle. It doesn't have to be like you measured and got it exactly in the middle, but pretty much in the middle. And then you can go ahead and tie up your pumpkin. Here it's kind of harder to tuck in that raw edge because the twine kind of gets in the way a little bit, but work those raw edges down in there as best you can, and then tie a knot in that basting thread that went around the top of the pumpkin from the very beginning, because that's going to be done the same. You're going to run the basting thread in the top and the bottom of the pumpkin. You're just going to add that twine before you tie up the top. And you can go crazy making knots or not. Knots or not. Anyway, now I pull this twine so that I can tie it in a circle so I can make sure I get it the tension I want on it. So see, I keep tying it until it pulls it in a little bit. I don't want to make it smush way down, but makes it pull in just a little bit. And I work my way around that. Now, it's good to put the knots close to the top, but you don't really have to worry that all of those knots are all the way in at the top just yet. Because once you get through tying them, I'm going to show you a little trick to kind of get the knots where they're not going to show up so bad. So I think I have about 6 here. Would I have 1 or 2 more? Anyway, tie them all up so that they make the sections in the pumpkin. And then once I have that, I just grab it on the bottom and twist it around so that it pulls that knot in as close tight up in the top. It doesn't, I didn't really try to pull it down inside the pumpkin. If that happens for you, that's fine, but there's the bottom. But remember, we're going to glue all of this decoration, the stem and the flowers and everything on top, and they're going to hide all of that. And if you wanted to, you could leave a couple of them long, and they would just add decoration down the side of your pumpkin. Same thing, make your stem from a triangle, and then glue on the different decorative pieces you have. I added more pieces to this one because this one is a bigger pumpkin, but I made the bow the same way. I just tied a bow and glued it on. And there you go. That's how to make the one that's in sections. Here's the 3 sizes I made. And you're done if you're just going to do that. But if you're going to make them from scratch, stick around and see the extra content. Alright, so I took a bunch of different sweaters that I found at Goodwill or whatever thrift store you shop at. And I cut the sleeves off so that I cut straight across there at the armpit so that it was, the top was perpendicular to the side of it. Or pretty close because the sides kind of angle. And then cut that in half. So for the size pumpkins I wanted to make, I'm able to get 4 from the sleeves. And this gold sweater was a long sweater. It was, I think it was like an extra large, but it was also a longer sweater. So I cut across from armpit to armpit so that I get that tube that is the body part of it. And I set aside all of that top business. And the buttons were kind of fun, so I'm going to leave those. I'm not going to try to get rid of the buttons. But then I'm going to cut it in half top to bottom so that I'm getting 4 out of the body of this sweater. Because like I said, it was a big size and it was really long. So I'm going to cut it open on the sides at the side seam so that I have 2 pieces. I have half of the front and half of the back. The top half-ish of the front because I cut off the very top. But the top and the bottom half of the front and the back. So the 4 pieces. Then I just fold them in half and sew them in a tube. And look, that didn't even get to be exactly the same length. But we're making decorative pumpkins. They don't have any specific finish size that we're going for. So I just kept going and ignored that. And so the same thing with the 4 bigger pieces and make 4 tubes from the body. Now this orange sweater, same thing with the sleeves. I'm going to get 4 pumpkins out of the sleeves. But this pumpkin, it's going to be a pumpkin. Right now it's still a sweater. This sweater, it was not as long. It was just more of a regular hip sort of length. So I wasn't going to be able to get as many pumpkins unless I made little bitty pumpkins or something. Here though, it kind of curved out for hips because you know we got some hips. So I squared it up just a little better. And then I left it long like that. So these are going to be sort of tall pumpkins, which will be really cute to make them tall and instead of just short and fat, because it's fun to have different ones. Tall, skinny ones, short, fat ones, all different pumpkins. I also give them a choice of ribbon and twine and colors to make their stems. And I bought a couple of these at Hobby Lobby and took them apart so that they have all of the separate pieces. Thanks for watching, those of you that watched to the end. If not, that's okay. That's okay. I won't hold it against you. Anyway, I hope your pumpkins turned out beautiful. And I hope you remember that Jesus told them that the harvest is abundant, but the workers are few. So pray that the Lord of the harvest will send out workers. Maybe you're one of the workers and you need to go out and harvest for the Lord. Anyway, see you next time.